Welcome back to another episode of Memories of Margaret, where the life and legacy of Margaret Curle will be shared through stories of her love for Christ and all people. I'm your host, Martha Sue French, and by now you also know I'm the youngest of six children of Howard and Margaret Curle. Now, in the previous episode, I said there would be another guest, but life happens and we pivot. So today I will be solo, and hopefully on the next episode, we will resume with a guest. Now, this is episode 18, and today's episode and poem is entitled Outlooks. Now, it's a poem about optimistic Annie and pessimistic Pete. Now, it has been mentioned in previous episodes that Margaret and Howard, Mama, Daddy, Nan, Pap, they were very opposites of each other, but they complemented each other very well. So while Mama was the eternal optimist, Daddy, not so much. So keeping in the spirit of the poem, the good thing about this episode is it's going to be shorter since there's not going to be a guest. But the bad thing is you have to look and listen to me the entire time. Now, the poem Outlooks can be found in the poetry book From My Heart to Yours. And again, all the books are available on Amazon by simply typing in Margaret Curle. So here goes. Outlooks. Optimistic Annie and pessimistic Pete met each other one day while walking down the street. Annie wore a big smile and Pete a bigger frown. Annie's spirits were way up and Pete's were way, way down. Pete said, "I feel rotten. It's an awful day." And Annie said to him, "What a terrible thing to say. I have a little headache, but otherwise I'm fine. It can't be an awful day with all this bright sunshine." Then Pete frowned even harder and said, "That's what I mean. This is the brightest sunshine that I've ever seen. It always makes my eyes hurt, and when it's so very bright, I'll be glad when the sun goes down and once again it's night." Then optimistic Annie smiled and said, "Oh yes, indeed. The nights are nice and cool for sleep, and this is what we need." But poor old pessimistic Pete began to gripe some more. "I never ever sleep real good. I toss and turn till 4. Then Annie shook her head as she went on her way and thought, "That poor man can never find any good to say." And Pete went walking on his way, still frowning his deep frown and thinking, cheerful folks like her can really get me down. Now stop for just a minute and think which one you are. The one who only sees the clouds or the one who sees the stars? Again, that's Outlooks by Margaret Naomi Curle. Now, reading that poem reminds me of how Daddy could take the smallest action or activity and take it from 0 to 100, and 100 was like the worst possible outcome. So I do remember one time where we were visiting Mom and Daddy in the new house. Now, when I say the new house, that is the house where my brother Billy and his family currently live in Roanoke, as opposed to the old house that we grew up in, which has since fallen down. But anyway, TJ couldn't have been more than 2 years old. I believe we were still living in Campbellsville at the time, because he was a little over 2 or 2.5 when we moved to Texas. But the floor in the kitchen and in the halls, they were linoleum. So they had a lot of what I call slidability. Now, TJ, what he liked to do, he liked to get in his sock feet and he would go to the kitchen. He would run, and as where the hall started, he would run in the kitchen, but then he would stop where the hallway would start and then he would slide down the hallway, slide the rest of the way. Okay, it was Roanoke in the early 80s, so there wasn't much else to do out there. I mean, we made our fun, okay? So that's what he liked to do. Anyway, Daddy would get so nervous. He would, when he saw him doing that, stop that, let Daddy, let him play. He's just playing. There was nobody else out there to play with at that time, like his age. Again, he was 2 or a little over 2. So he would tell me, stop letting that boy slide like that. He's gonna slide down that hall, fall, hit his head, split it wide open, have to go to the hospital and get stitches, and then where will you be? Daddy, how you get all that from TJ just sliding down the hall in his sock feet? But anyway, that's how Daddy was pessimistic. Everything was, he was just a pessimist. He always saw the glass half empty, while Mama always saw the glass half full. Now, a small example of Mama's optimism, on the other hand, is that Mama always entered sweepstakes. It didn't matter what it was. She entered sweepstakes, and her intent was, she was going to win the grand prize. But she entered every sweepstakes known to man. Of course, then, you didn't have a computer or a phone you could enter sweepstakes. You would have to enter them by mail, or if it was like a radio sweepstakes, you'd have to call in. So one of the pictures I'm going to share is when Mama actually won a local contest where the prize was a $500 shopping spree in Howard's, but I did not even remember that. But Mama was always the eternal optimist. She always saw the glass half full. Everything was, even in the worst times, because I mentioned many times we grew up very poor, but Mama always saw the solution. She always saw the positive outcome of everything. So no matter what it was, Mama was the optimist. So let me go ahead and share some pictures, and then we can get out of here. This is the picture of, again, she is a shopping spree winner, $500 shopping spree at Howard's. Now, Howard's, I think now it's IGA, but Howard's is a grocery store in Hodgenville, Kentucky. And the local sponsors, it shows that they were there. I didn't have the whole one. I'm not even sure where this came from, but I don't even remember Mama winning, but she won that $500 shopping spree at Howard's. And you notice she had those pearls on. Mama loved those pearls. So, it shows her and what the Howard's manager, her winning that shopping spree. So she manifested her optimism and she won that shopping spree. And sometimes I wonder, well, why, was Daddy so pessimistic? Was it his surroundings? Was it, how he grew up? I don't know. But here is a picture of Daddy and Les Rush. Now, I have seen this picture of Daddy before, but I think somebody had somehow cut Mr. Rush out. Anyway, this is Miss Bertha Rush's husband, Etta Joe Hill, Etta Joe Rush's father. So this is him and Daddy as young men. And I actually got this picture with him in it from Etta Joe. So Etta Joe, if you are watching, thank you for sharing that picture. You shared a couple of other pictures with me as well that I hope to use in the next couple of episodes before the season ends. But this is Daddy as a young man. And then, of course, I had to show Mama as a young woman. Again, these are twins, Pat and Winnie, I think their names were. And I think they were going to a church convention. So this is them in their youth, being optimistic, pessimistic. But again, for them, it worked because they were together for 50 years. Here's a picture. I'm not sure when this was taken. It looks almost like the background would have been like a Olin Mills type picture. But again, opposites attract. That's what they say. So mama and daddy's optimism, pessimism meshed together and worked well for them for over 50 years. Here's another photo of optimistic Annie and pessimistic Pete. This is at Kenny and his first wife Bobby's wedding. I think that would have been in January. I think that's why Mama has a turtleneck on. But this was, they cleaned up pretty good. Look at Daddy in a tux. So that's Mama and Daddy again. Now this picture, I believe I had shared before. This is at Jimmy and Kay's house in Hodgenville. But if you notice the date, and I brought this out before too, this is actually exactly 7 months before Daddy passed away, because he passed away on September the 27th of 2000. And this was taken in February 27th of 2000. Always together. Okay. Optimistic Annie, pessimistic Pete. And this is my absolute favorite picture of them. I just love the way Mama looks at Daddy. Daddy's just smiling and grinning. He just, they had a wonderful relationship. So even though, Daddy was a glass half empty, Mama was a glass half full, they always made it positive for us. Or, we just have, laugh and have jokes about things. I think that's the last picture, so I'm going to stop sharing that. But I just wanted to show some pictures of how it works. Even if it's optimistic Annie and pessimistic Pete, they made it work. I told you this was going to be a short and sweet episode. So thank you all again for tuning in today. Now, as we approach the end of 2024, we are also approaching the end of season 1 of Memories of Margaret. There are only 2 episodes left. When I started this venture, the beginning of the year, I had retired. So I'm not sure if I mentioned I'm unretired now, so I'm a lot busier than I used to be. But this is so important that I want to keep it going. And I want to keep up the different seasons, the different memories. So if you would like to be on probably season 2 episode, please, you have the contact information. Let us know on the Facebook page, Memories of Margaret, or send them email to memoriesofmargaretnaomi@gmail.com. So in the next episode, while I hope to have another special guest, I'll play it by ear. Again, much like optimistic Annie, aka optimistic Margaret. We'll make the best of whatever happens. So until next time, make memories with your family. Thank you.